When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
We're going to take a look now at the Quebec Experience Program. And the Quebec government, well, they're taking another kick at the can, their third attempt to revise the program. And joining me on the show is David Chalk, an immigration lawyer and member of the Quebec Immigration Lawyers Association. David, good morning.
Good morning.
So, David, if I could be so bold, I just want to start off here by looking a bit at the past. The Quebec government has tried to reform this program twice before. The guy that was in charge of this, Simon Jolin Barrette, got booted from the immigration dossier. I have called him a kind of robot-like individual that doesn't care about humans. When I talk to other people, they seem to say, yeah, this guy does not have the personal touch. We now have a new immigration minister, Nadine Giraud. And, you know, hopefully it brings sort of a new perspective on this. But I'd love your take, David, as you look at the Quebec government's third attempt now. The first two times ended in failure. What do you think is going to happen here?
Well, Minister Giraud is an immigrant herself and a person of color, and we think that she can bring some very positive things to the job, certainly a different perspective on immigration than her predecessor. But to be very honest, the information that's been out in the media is that this version of the PAC was also drafted by her predecessor, and that's how it feels. It's a less bad version than the one before, but it's still not very good, and it leaves us as a province not very competitive in terms of bringing in the best new immigrants. And most seriously, I think that the minister really needs to talk to her legal department, because her predecessor and Premier Legault both made a promise. They made that promise in front of the media. They made that promise in the National Assembly. And the promise was that everybody who was working or studying in Quebec in November last year was going to be grandfathered and was going to be able, when they were ready to make their applications in the Quebec Experience Program, to do that with the rules that were in place at that time, because many of them had been attracted to come and study here in particular, or else work here, by those rules. And they have broken that promise insofar as the students are concerned. The government of Quebec has been to court on similar issues in the past, and it's not gone well for them.
David, man, there's just so much you just said there, from the less bad as the most favorable term to describe this third revision, and then the big thing here about, basically changing the rules on people after they're already on the playing field. Do you think eventually the government will find the right path, at least for those people?
Well, let me tell you what my take on this is. This is an economic immigration program, and we have in Quebec every right to run that program while taking into consideration the lives of the people who are affected by it, our own economic best interest. And my problem with everything that's been done in the reform so far is nobody has come forward and made the economic argument for why these are important changes. Because what they look like, and I think the opposition parties have been correctly saying this is just a way to bring down the numbers of people coming through that program so the government can fulfill election promises that were not necessarily election promises that were in our best interests. So one of the election promises I'm talking about was to significantly decrease the number of new immigrants, and also to send some low-skilled manpower into the regions. So that's what these changes are intended to do. Nobody has made the economic argument with any serious study to back it that we are going to get better immigrants by requiring temporary foreign workers to work 2 years after they come here to work instead of 1 year, or that there's a problem with giving selection certificates to newly graduated post-secondary or secondary professional students here in the province, because all the studies that we have showed that these people do extremely well. In fact, often better than, within a few years, are doing better than native-born Canadians.
We're with David Chalk, immigration lawyer, and talking about the Quebec government's third attempt to revise the Quebec Experience Program. David, can you give me some examples, some real-world examples of how this current plan for the third revision will impact us when it comes to getting the best immigrants?
Well, okay, for example, if somebody, if a temporary foreign worker has come to the province of Quebec and they are looking at, or is looking at work in Canada, and they have options in Ontario and in Quebec. Well, in Quebec, in order to sort of qualify, it's likely they'll have to work 2 years. Then they apply for a selection certificate that takes 6 months, and then they apply for permanent residence, which, as it stands right now, takes about another 2 years. So we're looking at about 4.5 years to the time they start in Canada to the time that they are a permanent resident. The same job in Ontario, they come in, they work their year, they apply into express entry, that takes 6 months, and they are permanent residents. So it's 18 months versus 4.5 years.
Jeez, how do you compete?
How do we compete?
How do you
exactly.
compete? So, David, from your perspective, at a time like this, we're south of the border. The administration that runs that country, who I don't even want to name, but we all know who I'm talking about, they've made so many changes on immigration fronts. You have people with H-1B visas employed there. They're looking for places to go. Do you think now is the time for Quebec to sort of say, hey, let's get these best of the best immigrants?
Well, you're right on the money. I mean, everybody that I read anyway is saying that the future is in the knowledge economy, and there are so many brilliant people on H-1s in the United States and other visas, or for even people who are there with green cards who aren't feeling very good about the place they're living, who are becoming interested in coming over here. And also, because it's become so hard in the U.S. for employers to bring in foreign employees, there are a lot of big IT and tech companies that are either setting up branch offices in Canada or moving up here. I think branch office is actually more common. Mm-hmm. But this is really the period for us to make the gains that are going to put us in the bird seat for the decades to come.
As we end off this interview, David, let's just talk a little bit more about the new immigration minister, Nadine Giraud. Have you had discussions? Has your group had discussions? Does there seem to be any willingness to at least talk and revise yet again?
Well, look, we have, and I'm speaking of as a member of a lawyers association. Our association and the Canadian Bar Association had a long and very constructive relationship with the government of Quebec, and we had a dialogue with them. We would sit down with them and talk about issues of concern several times a year, year after year. I can tell you that under the previous minister, that just didn't happen for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And that was unfortunate. For whatever reason, the decision was made not to keep up those regular meetings and discussions. We are hopeful that things will return to normal under this minister.
David Chalk is an immigration lawyer, member of the Quebec Immigration Lawyers Association. A real pleasure to talk to you, David. Thanks for coming on the show.
Same here. Okay, have a great day.